I want to talk about this particular subject here because there's a video that's going a bit wide of a pastor out there. This man then here, we're going to go to the video. He's out there claiming that criminals go to heaven and blah, blah, blah. Some people have very corrupt mindsets. But before we go to that story, there's a story that is actually, that one of you guys actually sent me. And I thought it was worth our time we go through it. It's the story of this young boy. If you actually go on Facebook and type Precious Zamani, there's this story of this child went and unfortunately stole many meal or something like that. And you know, the punishment that they gave him, they made him eat this thing and whatnot. Can play you those videos and all this kind of stuff. Now, Malawi's response to this was kind of a very interesting response, which is what I want to talk about. And so people actually went and found this child and try to help his family and his mother from the struggle. You know, life not been easy out there. And so a lot of people, Facebook posts after Facebook posts, really people just being extremely generous towards finding this child and trying to build his morale from that punishment that he was given. I mean, I saw Bushiri got involved. He also went, did some charity work for the child, took them to PEP. I didn't know Malawi also has PEP. Hey, PEP is doing the most. PEP is doing the most. They went, got the kids clothes, everything, and stuff like that. And I thought, let's have a conversation alongside that video of that pastor. The reason being, or taking that particular direction, so that we can show there's a line of thinking that an unbeliever has. There's a line of thinking that a believer has. There might be error that's out there, but then there's a way a Christian addresses the error compared to the way the world would think about it. This is the Luxury Show. We do daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time of the year to be show, check out some other videos that are down in the pinned comments. There's another video that was posted right before this one, so go check it out. It'll be in the pinned comment. And so, let's go down the story. As I mentioned, you know, people were extremely generous towards this family. They found the child. They bought stuff for them so that they can have stability, called up the child and stuff like that instead of what we saw in that first video, if you haven't seen this particular story. So there's tons of stories, okay? This is the mother right here. There was an article of that pastor that I'm going to go to, but this is the mother right here with the child. I think it was at Bushiri's house or something like that. And so that was particularly at Thingy's house. Now, I want to give an example of this with T.I., this hip-hop musician by the name of T.I. or Tip. Recently, he's been having an issue with his son trying to associate himself with this image of hip-hop, which he's not from. And I want to use that also as an example to kind of line up. And I do also have a verse that I want to read for you guys that I think would be very much in line with that. But first, let's listen to this. Hey, let's listen to this man them. What you are saying about criminals going to heaven and stuff like that. This is what he said in line of that story.
When we say it, the way Yahoo is going in the country, especially in Nigeria today, we will see that how can a man who become a Yahoo make heaven? But I'm here to shock you this morning that many Yahoo boys, Yahoo girls, Yahoo man, Yahoo woman are going to make heaven. Can I give you an example? When you read the book of Genesis, chapter 27, from verse 1 to 44, there was once a man that exists. His name is Jacob. The meaning of Jacob is deceiver. And Jacob is the first Yahoo man that existed on earth. Jacob deceived his father and collected the birthright of his brother Esau and went away with it. He took it as a jackpot because when Esau came back and said, Baba, I have prepared the benefit, give me a blessing. The father said, none of the blessing is remaining. That is where jackpot started from. Jackpot is collecting all plus all. And that is what Yahoo do to some people. The man that started it, his name is Jacob. And Jacob is in heaven. Person when Papa dey heaven, they go hellfire. No, if you hear me say, I hear you now. I hear you, sir. Yes. The father of Yahoo is Jacob. And today all over the world, if Yahoo will take people to hellfire, every family is going to lose a child to hell.
Okay, that's his thinking. So basically, his idea of why people who do Yahoo are going to heaven, it's on the basis of a verse that he's completely missing. Now, the Bible says, before time, God spoke to us through our fathers in diverse manners, but now he speaks to us through Jesus Christ. And so when this pastor said this particular statement, even people were asking themselves, so he thinks that people robbing people of everything that they have in their life, those people are going to heaven. And so the idea of them going to heaven, it's not Jesus. The idea is that they are going to heaven because there is a Yahoo who is in heaven. He has a very humanistic thinking. He's not driving it from God saving. He's driving the whole idea in the fact that he finds someone who did something wrong who's in heaven. He's not thinking about there was a point of salvation or there was one who saved. He's not thinking about that. To him, he's just thought 1 + 1. He's never thought context. There's no aspect of, there's no viewpoint of context in his entire thing. Now, why am I tagging this story alongside that child's story? You see, when you see people being generous to this child and bringing up, they realize that the circumstances of this child are worth something that we should note and try and help. Papa Bush was over there helping as well, and the whole 9 years. And so they realize that there is a viewpoint that we need to have to bring this child up right. By such a punishment that he was given, beaten and whatnot, it can actually harden a person to a hardcore criminal. I remember when I once stole something when I was a child, I got a beating. I said, no, this is not me. Criminality is not me. Yeah, it just took that. When I was still young, it took that behavior and the punishment that came with it for me to realize this is not the way to live. Okay? And so, why am I bringing this up? Because in the light of the story that I gave you an example of, T.I., his son right now, this son is called King. Way back I used to watch his television show. He had a reality show of him and his family and so forth. And this particular son was very prominent. He had a very huge role in that entire show. And so now this child is growing. And in his growth, he's now adopted certain behavior that have actually landed him in jail. He was actually arrested not so long ago. And then people started saying, hey man, why are you not talking to your son? And all that kind of stuff, just very typical, kind of like blaming the parent for things. Sometimes parents are a little bit loose on how they discipline and stuff like that. But in this light, G.I. came out, he made a video, and in the video he states, I've told him there are certain behavior that will land him in jail. You want me to do what? He says, I've come to peace with it, that this child just likes criminal behavior. He likes dodgy behavior. And so as a result of that, if you want to go to jail, let him be. Now, to some people on social media, that sounds irresponsible. But then when you've done all to bring a person out of a certain line of behavior, and they continue on. Now, this particular child has been called out several times. He loves, basically, Now, a lot of people that try to correct TI's thinking around that, they have not followed this thing. Now, because me, I used to watch the TV show. Way back when I was still in high school, I used to love this particular TV show. And so when this thing of him being arrested came out, I was like, hey, what's the kid doing? It turns out this kid has been really aligning himself with like gangster behavior. He's been out there like him. He's been suffering. He's suffered hard, gone through the most. His life has been difficult, and so as a result, he's gangster like that. And so people on social media will come up and say, dude, people who are living in that type of a lifestyle where they don't have, where they are struggling, they're trying to get out so that they don't have to do that, or so that they don't have to be like that. You are trying to go back to that. What's wrong with you? People on social media, we kind of behaving towards it like that. But apart from that, this kid would get on social media, like he would make videos and stuff like that. And in these videos, he would always want to look a certain way, look like he was gangster, like, yeah, he's all about that life of gangsterism and stuff like that. And as a result of it, his family will constantly call him out. His family will constantly say, King, you are not that guy, my G. Stop behaving. Stop misbehaving. Stop taking on. They've tried correcting him. He won't take correction. He's vowed that he wants to be gangster. He wants to be this. He wants to live this life. So his father says, I've told him, I've warned him of this life that he's trying to get into. Like, he's not there, but he's trying to live that. And so as a result, I've told him, you on the other side of that hand, you're going to find criminal behavior. You're going to find yourself in jail. And this comfortable life you have, you'll lose it. Then you will have regrets. Then you will learn the hard way. Instead of learning from people that are trying to advise you, you will learn the hard way. And so I wanted to patch this particular story of this young man. Well off. Notice the two verses on this particular story is that there is this child who's living well off, successful. His father is not successful in the sense of thinking. He's successful on the basis that he doesn't have to work. His father has done all the work for him, has given him a groundwork where he doesn't have to suffer, get things. But he chooses to suffer. And then, on the other hand, I give you a line of a story from this child who life has not given him the easiest of life, okay? Life has not given him the easiest of paths to tread. And this child, Malawi recognizes, and they reach out and they say, you know what? We don't want you to see this as a way of living. We want you to find a better life on the other side. I wanted to pin both sides and say, just don't give up on trying to direct someone. You just don't give up on trying to direct someone. But unfortunately, when a person has decided wickedness, they will go that route. I remember there was a story of, there was a very famous story of Lamilton. There's this show called The Boondocks. The Boondocks did a season. They had an episode on the Boondocks of a story by the name of Stop Smoking with Cigarettes. Basically, this story that was very hilarious, right? It was funny. Turns out that particular storyline that the Boondocks did was actually based off of a real child, a real kid, okay? A kid by the name of Lamilton. And so the storyline that you see in that show was actually a depiction of this child called Lamilton. Tayshawn Lamilton. Now, Unfortunately, Lamilton was a child who was depicted in the show as a child who was wild, living this life that was reckless, what, very wicked, like a wicked type of a life. Um, and they tried to correct this child. They tried by all means. They tried to bring to shine a light on this child. The child never came well. As a matter of fact, um, the child was arrested. I remember I saw a report. Lamilton, after there was actually a story. I was hoping that I'll see that thing. But if you actually look it up, you will actually see that that particular child, that's it right there, Lamilton Tayshawn. If you actually look online, you will actually find stories about this child. This child has actually gone on to being a criminal. Now has a criminal record because he was later on arrested. This child was actually later on arrested after. Okay, so the show actually depicted, I think I found an article on Briefly right there, which actually shows the child that was being depicted as Lamilton Sean later on actually did end up arrested in real life. So the story was warning about this type of a behavior you could kind of outline. This child actually ended up later on arrested. Why? Because they refuse correction. They refuse to be directed. They refuse to have guidance. And the show showed, this behavior doesn't land nowhere except destruction. Even when the culture of the day critiqued such a lifestyle, unfortunately, he actually ended up worse off and doing worse off to a point where it actually landed him in in jail after this entire thing. And so right here, I wanted to show this as a reminder. Yes, we don't give up, but we must remember some people have decided on the route that they will take, but we don't give up on trying to correct them because it might just be around the corner. The same way TI says, you know what, he's tried to warn this kid, but if this kid won't have it, what must I do? Must I have a heart attack? If he's refused all forms of correction from me and from people that are close to him, his family members, his friends, and there's videos online where you will see him arguing with his family, and his family is trying to, like, dude, snap out of it, snap out of this gangster life that you're trying to stop it. It's not worth it. And no, he insists, I'm gangster, I'm what, and the family is like, dude, stop. You're being ridiculous. But he goes hard on that. And so there are people that correct thing and say, no, Tia should just snap his child into. But hey, when he's tried his best, these kids can still go left on you. They can still go that direction. But we don't stop trying to bring correction. You see, Malawi came together and they tried to direct this child and show them a positive aspect, a positive direction, instead of whatever he might see out there. This is actually show with daily Christian commentary videos. We have a place in our society and we should continue partake in it. We should continue to be hands-on in it. Correction is important, not just in doctrine, but in all aspects of our life. It's Ricky, and I'll see you later. Y'all have a good one.